Another lovely episode brought to you by our friends at Unka and BetLion. If you haven't yet tried out BetLion, very, very good friends. If you haven't yet tried out BetLion, now is the opportunity. People are making money using Aviator, which is a little plane that flies across the screen, and you're able to... You're almost deciding how much you're making yourself from
I'll tell you an interesting story. I went to my barber in Northmead, and he showed me a dude who at some point, but I've never played Aviator, right?
Right.
So at some point, I think... You keep accumulating money?
Yes.
From
it goes
the way,
up and down though.
Yeah, from the way he was describing it. So the guy came in so that there were a lot of people, and then he went out. Then he said, let me tell you about this dude. This guy was playing Aviator at some point, and he accumulated 150,000.
Damn.
150K.
So people are actually winning this. We're not just preaching empty sermons here.
Have you known me to lie?
I've known you for 2 years now. So far, so good.
Not right.
Also, Unka. I think one thing we haven't emphasized enough is how Unka right now, even with the fuel prices going up, is the most affordable taxi hailing app on the market right now. In addition to just you paying for your ride, you're also you have insurance as you're on that ride.
If you get into an accident while you are on an Unka ride, you are insured. Did you know this?
Amazing. Unka is paying hospital
Imagine
fees.
that.
Incredible.
Yeah, and there's water on the rides as well.
Yeah.
The only taxi hailing app with water on the ride.
The other thing that I like about Unka, I'll tell you this, and I've said this over and over again. What I don't like about the other apps, the red one and the other one had to rebrand because it had gone to the dogs. I think it was green.
USA?
It had to rebrand.
USA?
Have you noticed the different tiers in terms of, like with Uber, you've got your Uber Black, your Uber X.
Yeah.
If you order the Comfort, you would think that this vehicle is not going to make it to where it is going. The doors are falling off. You can hear this car from 10 kilometers away. You'd be lucky if the window opens. Right. You'd be lucky if you don't get tetanus if the door cuts you. One thing I've realized about Unka is they're pretty particular about the quality of the vehicles. The other time that I went to, so normally when I travel, I leave my car at the airport, but if I'm traveling for extended periods, I get a car to drop me off. Did they not just show up in a Jeep Grand Cherokee?
Unka.
Grand
Levels,
Cherokee.
Baby. Levels, baby. But anyway, having said that, let's get to the episode.
It's pretty affordable. And not only that, hold on. Because it feels like we're only talking to the passengers.
Right.
If you're a driver as well, there is quite a lot that you're able to benefit from Unka that you can't from the other apps.
It's giving the highest commissions to any drivers of any taxi hailing app in Zambia. They
also have partnerships with selected garages. So if you need to go and service your vehicle, you don't need to go to, you know these mechanics that like work under a tree. That guess what the problem is. I once heard this mechanic tell this old woman, hey, you see, madam, the problem with your vehicle is the esophagus is finished.
And then she was like, really?
So you need to buy a new esophagus. And lucky for you, I have 2 in the house.
Just give me 3 pins. Anyway, go roll the intro. Let's get to it.
Dun 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 dun.
About
no, so
you said Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So he sent me a voice note. And he says, I'm never listening to your
podcast again. Ever.
But then ever. You know what? When I watched the actual show, and I was telling him, I said, I will never criticize these guys. They just bait us. Because when I watched it wasn't so bad. You know, I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Right.
It was just all, you know.
We've got a lot
from a trailer.
We've got a lot of trailers that are... I mean, at the end of the day, the trailer is supposed to be bait.
Yeah.
With the advent of social media, it's clickbait.
Yeah.
So...
There's no context as well.
Exactly. You can't judge the whole episode by a 30-second or 1 minute clip.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at how people thought that Theo Nason actually admitted that he was gay based off a promo that we put up.
Yeah.
Just me simply joking about, Theo, why are you gay?
Yeah.
And people picked that up and thought maybe he admitted he was gay.
Yeah. No, I now I know how you guys operate. So I had to go through all of your shows, well, most of them, more than 90% of them, to understand how you guys are. And now I'm fine with it. So whatever you ask me, I'll answer it. Honestly.
Thanks a lot for coming through.
Yeah. So nothing's off limits. Because I know that's your angle, you guys.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think people in this country also need to understand what a podcast is about. It's not a TV show. It's not Grivazi Zulu on the Sunday interview. You know what I mean? So it's open conversation. And there's a reason why it's not on TV.
Right.
Because a lot of what we're going to talk about and how we're going to talk about these issues is not in a TV format.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this podcast episode. We've already started just like that. You know what I mean? So,
no intro. Well, the intro will come.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really have that. It's not too formal.
Hello.
You know what I mean?
Now, worry not. We just want to hear your story.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Anyway, this episode promises to be...
hands down, one of the most viewed.
And the most anticipated. People have been asking for this for a year and a half.
For a while.
Year and a half.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You are more popular than the color blue.
Well... I don't know about that popular stuff.
Are you saying that?
You don't think you are?
Well, I mean, you know, it's very easy to be popular in Zambia.
Right.
Especially
for different reasons.
Right. So that's subjective, I think.
I said that to the other Simon. What's the lawyer guy?
Mulenga Mwila.
Yeah, where he was saying I think he was advocating for popularity. Ludo. I'm gonna pick this up. And I was saying, look, it's very easy for you to become popular. You can set your hair on fire, and people are gonna watch.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So just because you have people's attention doesn't really mean it's good attention.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to it. Another great episode of That's That Podcast. My name is K Plus with my brother in crime, Elson Chigere Changamire, aka
that is me,
Uncle Elson,
aka keep going. AKA the only black person who takes off on a plane but doesn't land in one.
The only black person, or the only Zambian I know, who actually went... What do you call that, gliding? Last week?
Where?
In Durban.
That's not gliding. What do you call it? Talking about?
What do you call it?
Skydiving.
Skydiving. You jumped out of a plane.
I jumped out of a plane.
Amazing. What type of plane?
I will show you now.
Yeah.
Your ancestors are rolling in their graves right now. Or in their tombs.
And I made it a point that I was not going to tell my mother before I did this because she was going to lose her mind. And this was a spur of the moment thing. I just woke up on a random Tuesday. Yep, I woke up on a random Tuesday and I said, I'm going to do this.
Nigga, don't lie.
Amazing.
No, I had been saying it for a while.
You told me this 2 weeks ago, saying you're going to Durban to do this thing.
Yes, but that's the day that I made the decision, is what I said. That I just woke up on a Tuesday and I said, I'm going to do it. So the process of setting it up is what took long.
Right.
Because you can't do it in Zambia. You have to fly elsewhere.
Oh, so skydiving is not permitted here?
I don't know if it's permitted.
Nobody does it.
Nobody does it.
Because they know black people are not going to do that shit.
Is that right?
Oh, I swear.
Wow, amazing.
Can I pay by card?
These guys are paying. Every time they swear and cuss, they're paying. We're going to be rich today. This is amazing. But did you have to go through some type of like training regimen?
No.
Because you can't just jump on a plane and then jump out of it.
True. So leading up to it, you do have some kind of training that you go through, and they ask you if you want to jump alone or if it's a tandem jump. So the tandem jump is when you have
somebody attached to you.
Somebody attached to you.
Did you do that?
That's what I did.
Right, and that's the safest way.
100%.
Because you're not trained. You have to be trained.
I'm not. So the plane is kind of like, okay, I'll show you the photo. Gob, I'll send you photos so you put it up. The ones with the propeller, right? So get into your jumpsuit. You get onto the plane. It's got no door, and there were 3 people jumping apart from me. Well, including me, and 1 instructor. The other 2 people were jumping alone. So, and initially when I got there, it got cloudy, extremely cloudy. And so we had to wait a little. The weather was good, and we went up. So, the difference between a plane and a helicopter is, a helicopter just goes right up. But a plane kind of has to gradually gain altitude. Yeah. So the flight was like 30 minutes long. I kept waiting for me to get nervous, but I never did. The higher that we got, and I was looking out the window, and I was like, is this the part that I get scared? I'll tell you the part that I got scared, though. So the first guy, when we got to 4,000 feet, the first guy that was sitting the closest to the door, the instructor tells him, okay, so now turn around, because as we're sitting with our backs to the pilot, so we're facing the back of the plane. So he says, now turn around and face the front of the plane. He does that. Then he says, I need you now to step out of the plane and step onto like the landing gear of the plane.
Right.
And the guy does that. And I'm looking at this guy, and he gives him a thumbs up, and the guy lets go. And in seconds, this guy's gone. I'm like, the hell?
He just
so now that's when I got nervous. He just disappeared. Yeah. And that's when I got nervous. And the pilot then tried to say something to the instructor, and the instructor was like fixed on this guy, kind of like something was wrong. And he even told the pilot, wait, hold on, give me a second. And he kept looking at this guy. I tried to look for this guy, and I can't find him. Then the instructor looks at me, I was like, your turn. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. But so I get to him, I strap into him, and he then says, so now we've climbed up, I think, up to 8,000 feet.
That's high.
And then he says to me, we literally, from the time that I tell you, we have got 5 seconds to leave the plane. So when I tell you, you put your left foot out of the plane onto the landing gear, and immediately your right foot follows. I'm like, cool. Have you ever stuck your hand out of a car that is moving at like 200 kilometers an hour or 100?
Yeah, you feel that push, yeah.
You feel the push. So he then says, now. So I put my leg out, and that's exactly what happened. My leg was like just blown right back in. Blown right back into the plane.
Right.
He was like, stop being a P.
Yeah.
You can pay by card.
We got you.
Right.
You can pay by card.
We have.
Right.
We got you.
Put your leg back out. And so then I did that, and I was like, hold it there. Now put your other leg out. And I did that. Then he says, take your left arm and hold the harness. I did that. Now my other arm is still holding onto the plane. Yeah. He says, let go of the plane and hold the other part of the harness.
Wow.
And that's where the black part kicks in.
Your ancestors start whispering things to you.
The tough guy disappeared and the beach came out. I'm like, listen, can we talk about this for a second?
Man, that's crazy.
He was like, did I tell you that we've got 5 seconds to leave this plane? Because if we miss this
opportunity, yeah,
we're going to have to flip around and do another 30-minute ride.
So why is that? Why that particular gap?
So there is a particular gap where if you jump, you're able to parachute back to the
spot where you're supposed to land, yeah.
But if you miss that spot, you're not able to parachute back. That's one. Two is they have to get
permission from the
tower right before the person jumps. So everything's kind of like timed because you can't jump and there's another aircraft coming.
Right. End up in another propeller,
right.
Or a jet engine.
Yeah. Right, there you go.
Yeah,
that is amazing. So when you jump out, what does it sound like? Is it windy? I would imagine.
Good question.
Because you're falling.
So at the time that we then jumped out, the pilot then shut the engine. So the plane is gliding for like 10 seconds, and that's your window to then jump. So as soon as I left, my hand let go of the plane, he's now in control of me because I'm strapped to him.
Your whole life is in his hands.
And this dude just jumps out. I will tell you this. The first 10 seconds that you leave the plane, you don't know where up is, where down is.
Wow.
You are not thinking about anything in that moment.
Totally disoriented, yeah.
Not only that, but you're not thinking about anything in that moment. And one thing that I've realized is, I think that the third or the fourth craziest thing, apart from the devil's pool, that I've done, there is something about being so close to death that makes you feel so alive.
Wow.
I told Kalinga this. So I've got hay fever.
I like that.
Yeah, I've got hay fever. So at any given time, I'm breathing out of one of my two nostrils, never out of both at the same time. So right now I'm breathing out of this, and this one is blocked. In those instances, I could see clearer. I could breathe out of both nostrils. I promise you.
Amazing.
Maybe you need to live up there, bro.
It is. It is. Yeah, it is. I sort of now kind of understand those people that chase that high. Because once you have a feel of it,
you're addicted now.
You want to keep doing it over and over. So it's not just particularly jumping out of a plane. It is anything that could kill you.
So would you do that again?
The jumping out of a plane? Yeah, 100% I would.
Have you ever done anything this white before?
No, not that. I've never jumped out of a plane, no.
And the wind, like you were asking. So this guy had a device strapped to his wrist. This is the last thing that I'll talk about because I think you're more interesting. That measures your altitude.
This is amazing.
And the speed, dude, you won't believe
also,
this.
you know exactly when to pull on the parachute.
So I'll tell you more about that.
Yeah.
So it tells you the speed that you're falling at. So you free fall before the parachute is deployed. You free fall for 20 seconds. They call that
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
That's a long time, bro.
It felt like 20 hours, man.
That's a long time.
We were dropping at a rate of 350 kilometers an hour.
Now, are you feeling that?
You are feeling that. I'll show you a photo now, Gob. Where my face was rearranged by the wind.
So you have a helmet and
I don't.
Goggles?
I just have goggles.
Okay.
So the breathing is pretty crazy because you've got a gush of wind that is rushing at you.
300 k's an hour,
at 300 k's and 350 k's an hour.
That's
because
faster than a
remember,
Ferrari.
it's not just my weight.
Yeah.
It's both our weights.
Amazing.
You're falling at 10 meters per second according to physics. Anyway, that's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just as you now begin to have an idea of where the sky is, where the ground is, and you're still falling because now you're facing the ground as you're falling, right? So you see the ground coming at you.
Wow.
This guy just deploys the chute.
And it pulls you up.
And it yanks you up.
Right.
And that's another thing, again, that he doesn't tell you that I'm yanking the chute. So the 1 minute you are taking all this in, and the next minute you are like yanked up. But all in all, it is an experience that I would say I would want people to experience at least once.
Tell me about the parachute is deployed. You're coming down gradually. What's that? Is it dead silent?
It's dead silent, you're right.
Really?
Because now it's no longer as windy. So now you can pretty much take in what is happening. Wow. You can control the chute if you want to go left, if you want to go right. That's beautiful. That part is beautiful because then I would say that is the closest to being a bird
as you will ever get.
As you would ever get.
Yeah.
Because it's very calm, if I can call it that.
So after deployment to the ground, how long does that take?
It was about 3 to 5 minutes.
Amazing.
So much happening in such a short space of time, eh?
Yeah. Is it a cost though? Does it cost money to do that? I would imagine
It does.
they charge you to do that, isn't it?
What, to
jump out of a plane?
Yeah, they do. An arm and a leg.
Fee, yeah.
I mean, when Kaling and I went to Livingston, just getting on a helicopter for 15 minutes was like $150.
Wow. US?
Yes.
Yeah.
Here in
we're paying
Livingston.
about that much, yeah.
$150
As a local tourist. So we brought this up with the Minister of Tourism. Like, you know what? We need to have, like the way they do in Zimbabwe, South Africa, there's a local rate, there's an international rate. We don't have that in Zambia. Although they keep claiming on paper that it's there. But when you get there, they're like, no, look, it's a private company. We decide what we're going to charge whoever comes through. And we don't care whether you're from America or from Lusaka. You're going to pay $180 we paid last time, yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Anyway, Mr. Mwewa Lane on That's the Podcast today. Finally!
We're back. Last week we had an episode where we're not
present.
Where we're not
had
present. But we are back like herpes.
Yep, back like we forgot something.
Out of all the things in the world that you could have chosen, you chose herpes. That worries me. It does.
But do you know why?
No, tell me.
Because
I'm dying to know this.
Okay, because herpes doesn't really go away.
Goes and comes.
It doesn't really go away.
Oh dear.
It may lay dormant.
Anyway, I'm sure that those watching the podcast for the first time and those who don't know Mr. Simon Mwewa Lane, well, this is a man who's one of the biggest social media celebrities in this country. And
the biggest, in my opinion.
The biggest, because didn't you win an award last year? Diamond, Personality of the Year Awards?
Well, no, it wasn't last year.
The other year.
Well, interestingly, I was the first one to win the first Diamond TV Personality Awards. Several years ago, that was. Right. Last year, I won the Zikomo Award.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Every year you're winning an award.
No, not every year. Not every year.
The room erupted.
No, it didn't.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
Did it really?
It did. I promise you.
Really?
I promise you.
He texted me about that.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, I know.
For the
because people kept looking around to see if you were there or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Now,
thank you so much.
For the purpose of this,
did that come with money?
No. Awards usually don't do that. They just
few of them.
They just recognize you.
It's very few of them that will have like every award sponsored by a different company. I think it's the American Music Awards, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nando's or whatever. But anyway, that aside, you've been winning awards, not every year like you've corrected us, but I'm trying to take it back to your first viral moment. Like you now get into the social media space and you start making noise there. What was it like, that first viral moment?
Well, interestingly, it was when cholera first broke out in 2017.
How to take a disease.
Yeah, it had to do that because, and let me tell you why. The army came into the CBD and they essentially shut down the whole CBD.
Right.
This whole area, Lumumba Road was completely shut down. Nobody was coming here. I was coming to work. Simoson was closed, but I'd always spend time here. And so there's one particular, this was in 2017, I decided to start vlogging. Then I realized I was the only one doing this. ZNBC, yes. Right. ZNBC was not here. They didn't want to come because I guess they felt that it was an infected area.
Right.
And the army was here. And I remember asking one of the army officers, is it okay if I record? And he said to me, as long as you don't show our faces. And so I was walking down, it looked like a ghost town.
Right.
And people were watching that and they were thinking, where is this? Is this Lumumba Road? Because it looked deserted, stacks and stacks of pallets, the street vending pallets. Yeah. So to answer your question, that was the first moment that I sort of saw and I'll never forget, it was 5,000 people who we went from, SML went from 2,500 people to 5,800. And I remember thinking, 5,800 followers? Where are 5,800 followers coming from? It just seemed like such a huge amount of people. So, huge number of people. And so that was the first moment.
Because, before that, you're not very active on social media, right?
No, not really. I'll do vlogs here and there, but not really, no.
But, so, the cholera outbreak hits. Why did you feel you wanted to vlog? Why vlogging?
You got to put a post, a photo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not the first thing that would come into my brain. So I'm trying to figure out how that came about.
Well, the truth is, just to take you guys back, the reason I created this page, Mwewa Lane, is because this road that's directly in front of Simoson building is called Mwewa Lane. So my original idea, in fact, the inspiration for that came from the Beatles. The British band, the Beatles. Mm-hmm. There's a very famous road in England called Abbey Road. Mm-hmm. The Beatles famously took a photograph of them crossing this road. Right. It's an actual road, okay? It's a zebra crossing.
I remember that,
yeah. And if you go to England and ask anyone, whether it's a 10-year-old child, a 70-year-old man, woman, just say to them, where is Abbey Road? They will tell you. So the idea was to create a space that was easily recognizable. I wanted eventually for people to say, do you know where Mwewa Lane is? And they would say, yes, it's at Simoson. So that was the original idea. And the content that I was mainly creating at that time was just in and around this area. Just on the street in front of me here and talking to a few street vendors. But then, over the years, it sort of evolved into, I guess, what it is today. And yeah.
There's Mwewa Lane. The building is called Simoson. Why Simoson?
Simoson, that's a good question. This building, for those of you that may not know, was built in 1986, but was open in 87. And it was built by my late father, Dr. Simon Mwewa, who served in this city as governor, mayor, MD for Zambia National Building Society. When he was first building this building, in those days, in the 70s and the 80s, most of the businesses were called, Patel and Sons.
And Son,
Buchan and Sons, or, something, Isa and Sons. So he didn't want to do that Sons thing because he didn't want to, leave out my sisters. I have 3 sisters. So he didn't want to have a name. He didn't want to have Simon and Sons.
A very gender-sensitive man.
Yes, he was. He said, well, he would also, always tell us, he'd say, I don't want to leave your sisters out. So I'm going to come up with a generic name. And I remember the night he told us that, this building is going to be called Simoson. And all of us were shocked. Well, what does that mean? He says, it's easy to remember. It's one word and it's simple. And that's
why
the name.
Simoson though?
Well, it's Simon. Mm-hmm. Simon was his name. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he removed the S at the end because he didn't want sons. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He wanted it to just be generic.
Right. Got it.
So that way you don't have to say, well, it's just boys, there are no girls. So it's just Simoson.
And how many siblings have you got?
7. But
7?
There are 7 of us altogether, but 1 died.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have 6.
Right.
Yeah.
So all girls?
No, boys and girls. Got 3 girls, 4 boys.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So and are you the first?
I'm firstborn. Yeah.
Oh, you're the first? Are they all in Zambia?
No, I have 2 that are overseas.
Oh, which country?
England.
All right. Were you in England or were you in America?
No, I was in America. I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, yeah.
Louisiana?
Yeah.
Very racist state.
Well, I tell you, it's
Dad in Texas.
But I loved it, though. I did.
Oh, yeah?
I loved Louisiana.
When did you move to the States?
I didn't move there. I went to school there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't live there. I went to college there.
Okay.
And I was there for about 7 years altogether. And I loved every day of it until
7
I had to
years?
come back. Yeah.
What were you studying?
Theology and philosophy.
Theology?
Yeah.
I would have
never guessed this.
You didn't know this?
No.
I heard rumors, yes, when there were stories about you being related to Never Mumba.
Yeah, he's my uncle.
Yeah, people talk about, even the nephew, Simon, is a pastor as well. But I thought, nah.
Yeah, he's
people just try to make connections here.
Dr. Never Mumba is my mother's young brother.
Wow.
So it's a very close relation.
Yeah.
Yeah, great relationship. Yeah.
It's incredible. I ran into him at I was buying dinner. I think it was his aide. I was like, I actually watched the podcast. I'm like, word?
No. Serious?
I put the photo in the group when I was wearing the blue suit. You forgot?
I didn't open that photo.
Oh, wait. God. You don't remember me posting a photo of me and
Dr. Never Mumba?
The hell? I'm talking to you. See what I have to deal with? I said, they're not paying us.
So
at an Asian restaurant.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, he's my uncle and I love him. He's cool.
Is this like
and there was a lot of backlash. Sorry.
Okay, you can.
There was a lot of backlash from the Zimbabwean government attacking him personally.
Yeah.
After did you pick that up?
I did, and I spoke to him about that. Yeah, he stood his ground, and that report I thought was accurate. And I think the Zimbabweans thought that he was just going to create a narrative that would play into the ruling party's agenda. But he just...
Was he faced by that?
No. I mean, in fact, it's funny you asked that. He had gone jogging the day after the report came out.
Right.
And somebody said to him, says, Never Mumba, are you crazy? Some Zimbabweans think that you've been bought and you're a
Where was he jogging? Here?
In Zimbabwe.
All right.
In Harare.
Right.
And they said to him, it's not such a good idea for you to go jogging. This is ZANU PF territory.
Right.
Yeah.
Yo.
But, he said, I'm here to do a job, and he did it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When it comes to orators in this country, my top 2, FTJ and Dr. Never Mumba.
Yeah. That's about right.
Why is that?
Well, because
when these people hold the podium, bruh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard Never Mumba speak? Like even just a sermon preaching.
Yeah.
Fam.
Amazing.
Word?
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, I agree.
That man should have not left the pulpit, man.
I agree that he He's one of the best orators. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the way he'll put the whole sermon together. It's the words he's going to use, his rich vocabulary, the organization of the whole. He's just amazing. I'll sample something.
And you know why? One of the reasons why that is that he knows how to exegete. Most pastors don't know how to exegete. Most of these preachers...
Just for college dropouts like me, what does that mean?
Exegete means you take a scripture and you dissect it scripturally. You study it, you analyze it, and you break it down scripturally. Most pastors don't know how to do that. These guys, these snowflakes you see on Facebook, all they know how to do is scream fire and dangerous prayers. Prophesy. That's all. They don't know how to exegete. They won't even give you a sermon.
But isn't that dangerous though?
It is, because the masses buy it. You know, the masses are looking for an easy way out. If you've got a pastor or a false prophet that says to you, I'm the answer to your problem, all you have to do is send me a seed and I'll just breathe fire over your situation. Everybody just wants an easy way out, you know?
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you're living in a country where majority of the population is living in poverty. They've got so many problems. Everybody just wants a bit of hope. Yeah. And I think that's what most pastors have tapped into.
They've got trigger topics that they know.
Exactly.
If it's marriage, if it's prosperity.
That's it.
Especially marriage for women.
There you go.
Yeah, they tap into
money
that.
for men.
And why they look at it's a whole separate discussion why marriage is deemed an achievement. And I feel this is particularly in Africa.
Society has sold that.
Yeah.
In Africa specifically, because the more that you travel, you've been to America, in Europe. My sister, up until just recently, never wanted to get married.
Yeah. Really?
Pressure from the family, though?
Just changed her mind.
On accord.
On accord.
Interesting.
We digress. Back to Simoson building.
Wait, before we do that, one thing that you mentioned that I was also thinking about now, and this, I thought about this when I went to Mount Zion. Where
Mount Zion is a church?
It's a church,
It's a local church here?
Yeah, it is.
I've seen that,
Yeah. I've been there one time. I felt like an imposter. Like I didn't belong.
Because they're praying in tongues. Yeah.
People are praying in tongues. People are like falling on the floor. They're rolling.
It's a Pentecostal church.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw this one girl who was like crying, and I was like, "You've sent me nudes before."
Are you
serious? That day, bro.
I'm as serious as a heart attack.
Are you serious?
I'm as serious as a heart attack.
Really? And she was in there.
And she was there performing. But that's not the point that I want to bring out.
Anyway.
What you want to say?
I was saying, what if that's the day that she was repenting of her sins and you're judging her that way?
No, because she texted me again after that.
Oh, shit.
But that's not the point.
Are you serious, Elson?
We have spoken
Are you
on and off
busting
the
my
camera.
chops, Elson? Is that what you're doing?
You know, the biggest difference between me and a lot of other people is I am who I am when the cameras are on and when they're off.
Okay.
I'm exactly the same person.
Alrighty.
When a pastor reads a scripture out of the Bible and they break it down like you have just said, why I say I feel that is dangerous is because now you are getting another person's interpretation of that verse, how they interpret it, how they understand it.
No. They're tools you use, and you don't know this because you're not trained in that. And I don't blame you for thinking that way. It's not about your personal interpretation. There are tools that help you interpret the Word of God.
100%. Again, my favorite, and he knows. You know what my favorite verse in the Bible is?
Jesus wept?
Jesus wept. 3-4 people can read it and can get 3-4 different meanings out of it. You understand? What tools they are using, how they arrive at whatever interpretation that they have is according to them and whatever context that they have in their lives. That's exactly what I'm saying, that if I read a verse in the Bible and I try to say it to you and convey to you how I understood it, will be totally different to how you'd understand it.
Well, it depends on your denomination, your faith, the circles you run with. You know, I mean, they're Baptists, they're Catholics, they're Protestants. You know, everybody has their own thing. But what I'm saying is, for you to teach the Bible,
right,
you have to be not only trained, but you use tools to teach. You don't just wake up and then just say something in front of 10,000 people. You will mislead your flock.
And also, I think for me, my understanding, I'm assuming the first point of translating any verse is first of all to take it back into its original language, right? If it's Aramaic,
That's
if it's
part
Hebrew,
of it, yeah. If it's Greek, yeah.
Because
that helps.
Sometimes you get lost in translation, and the Bible verse can mean different things in different languages. You know what I mean?
That is correct.
That's one of the tools, right?
Yeah. And again, I mean, just going back to the Bible again, you get different churches understanding the same Bible differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You get it. So, I don't know. I've never been the kind of person who goes to a Pentecostal church. I did it because I was invited to it, but I don't know. I don't think it's for me.
It's not your thing?
No, it's not my thing. Okay. Born and raised in a traditional church. And
what's your traditional church?
Dutch Reformed Church. Okay. Have you heard of it?
I have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My grandma went to it. So ever since I was born, that's the same church that I went to.
I'm sorry. I'm very interested in your history, and I'll keep going back to that until I'm satisfied with certain
the Bible is part of his history, no?
Yeah, as a theologian, I understand that, but we didn't finish the Simoson issue. So there's 6 of you left now.
Right. With my mother.
With your mom.
My mother's still alive.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. Where's she?
Blessing,
she's 70. She's about 75 now, and she lives at home. In fact, our childhood home.
Where's that?
Which is behind Manda Hill. I don't live there.
Okay.
There was a few years ago, there was this talk on social media that
you live with your mom.
I still live with my mother, which is ridiculous because I left that house more than 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, but she still lives in the same house.
Is it because you don't grow a beard? People that
No, I don't know. It's social media talk. But she still lives in the same house we moved to when I was about 12 years old, which is behind Manda Hill. Now, because my mother loves to cook, we encouraged her to turn it into a restaurant, which she's done now. It's called Mama Mwewa's Kitchen, and she cooks there, and people go there.
What road is this? I'd like to go. This was a lot of food.
Yeah, it's traditional food, Zambian traditional food.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What road is this?
On Manchinchi Road. Right behind Manda Hill. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Check it out.
So the 6 siblings, your mom, then is this running as a family business? All of you are benefiting from this?
Yeah, every last one of us. Yeah.
Your sister's married?
Yes. In fact, all of them are married. Yeah. I have 3 sisters. They're married.
So everyone's on a salary from Simoson Building.
Yeah. We have in fact, let me tell you how it works. Simoson is not, none of us can ever come and say, I need X amount of kwacha. Okay. We're all on a salary.
You're all on what?
A salary.
Right, okay.
Yeah, all of us. So whatever your salary is, you work within that budget.
That's incredible.
So if you can't manage, you wait for the month. Because when my father died, one of the things that we decided to do was to do it that way. It would have been there would have been a lot of confusion had each one of us decided, okay, I'm going to take this part, I'll do this, it was going to be a mess. So we literally sat down and said, okay, this is how we need to do it. We're not going to have 12, 6, 7 different ideas. We're going to be on this road, and this is the path we're going to take.
Incredible. So how do they settle on you being the person to manage the estate here?
Well,
He's the oldest.
It's not only am I the oldest, but
you're the oldest.
It's
and
practical because each one of us does different things.
Right.
Aside from dividends from the company, my brothers and sisters, everybody's doing their own thing, sort of. But the central focus, in a sense, this is home.
Yeah. You know what I love about that is the fact that I am almost certain this is what your father would have wanted. You know what is sad is the fact that your father had this real estate is on a totally different level. People are fighting over shoes, bruh.
You know what I mean?
Like the parents die and the siblings don't talk over things that are far less than something like as substantial as this.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So the fact that you have got the EQ
to make this work and say, I'm not going to benefit any more than any one of my siblings is incredible.
Yeah, because that's the key, is that everybody has to benefit equally.
Your dad was a politician, right?
Yeah, he was.
What was he? Mayor?
He was mayor, governor. He was a member of Central Committee, which was a big deal in those days, in the UNIP.
Right.
This was during the time of the party and its government.
One party.
When you heard the party and its government,
they owned
in those days, in the UNIP days, yeah. So yeah, he was He was a politician. When the MMD won, one of the things that they tried to do was to try to get him to join MMD. And he constantly said, no, that's not my thing. And even my mother would say to him, well, everybody's going that way.
Why don't you?
UNIP is dead. And he said, no, that's... So he died UNIP. Through.
How many shops are here?
About 210.
200?
Yeah, but then like I was saying earlier, there's tiny, small shops.
Right.
And we have a few that are large, but there's, relatively small shops, and we don't charge in dollars. We charge in kwacha. And more than 95% of our customers here are Black Zambians. We have a couple of, Ghanaians, one or two Chinese people, but it's mainly Black Zambians.
Is that deliberate?
Yeah, because that was my dad's vision. My dad's vision was provide Zambians with a platform to...
So it's not a free market type of thing?
What do you mean by that?
That you're a business person.
We are business people, but...
So whoever it is that comes, despite of the nationality and the background, and they would like to offer a service or a product to Zambians that are going to go in and buy, go ahead and do it.
No, everybody's welcome, but it just so happens that our clientele, our people don't like to be referred to as tenants. They hate that word. Mm-hmm. They prefer business owners.
Right.
So Simoson business owners are mainly made up of Zambians, and we like it that way.
Yeah, that's why I was asking that. Mm-hmm. Are you deliberate to say Zambian first is who I will give preference to, rather than it's a free market that if any business person requires space to offer goods and services.
It's free market.
Right.
It just so happens that most of them are Zambians.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, man. And then I think one thing that you haven't quite shared about your life is your upbringing. Like, which schools did you go to?
I went to ISL.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Many years ago.
Your dad must have been pretty rich.
Well, in those days, believe it or not, the government paid for it. Even
so did the government pay for your education?
Yeah, they did. And those were the perks of being a mayor and governor. Of course, I think it's changed now. I don't think they do that anymore. I don't think government pays for it, but in those days they did.
Right.
So it was very easy.
Oh, because your father was in politics.
Right.
That's the reason.
Well, he was a mayor
and governor.
And one of the perks was your kids. It was, in fact, believe it or not, the government in those days, in the 70s, early 80s, they would even pay for your kids to go abroad, secondary school. My father deliberately didn't want us to go overseas for secondary school. He said, you don't have to go there. You can get grounded here first. When you graduate from secondary school, and if you want to go to university or college, then you can go. But of course, by then, there was nothing like the government paying for university. We had to pay for it ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can continue. You went to
yeah. But in those days, it was the government that used to pay for our primary school, secondary school. Everything was paid for by the government.
So was it all 7 of you at that point?
Yeah.
You guys went to the same school?
Yeah, we all went to ISL.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dope.
ISL, we went to Leopard's Hill. I went to Leopard's Hill as well.
So everyone in the family sounds like you.
No, because they did not go to America.
No. But they've got their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have their own
They
thing.
sound ISL-ish.
What is ISL-ish?
Well, well-spoken, well-educated.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
I don't know about the well-educated part. The well-spoken, I do agree. I don't know how you equate private school to being well-educated.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, he did say they all do well. They've gone through a good education. So.
Well, let me say,
right.
I think my siblings are smart kids.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I don't consider myself
Which leads me to the next question.
I don't think of myself as as a smart person. Yeah, I'm just a guy. But my siblings, they're pretty smart. Yeah.
And you being the firstborn, you're done with ISL, you go to study abroad, and knowing who your father was, I'm sure he thought more of what you should have studied than what you did. How did he take you choosing the course that you later went to study?
That's such a good question. You know,
I'm sure he wanted you to be a doctor, or a lawyer, one of those.
A lawyer. He wanted me to be a lawyer.
See what I mean?
Yeah. Let me tell you, I remember the day when I finished school and my dad said to me, you need to tell me what you want to study because I think you should study law, you know? And I said, well, this is what I want to do. And this is one of the things I loved about my dad and I get emotional thinking about it because when I told him that this is what I wanted to do, he just said to me, are you sure? I said, yeah, I want to go into the ministry. And he said, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
I'll support you.
You know, 100%. Your mother and I will stand behind you. And that to me was amazing because he really did want me to do law. But I went completely different
why did you go that route though?
Well, because at the time I felt called into the ministry.
Did I pronounce that correctly? Is it route or route?
It's both. You can say route.
Just checking. So why did you go that route?
Yeah, because at the time I felt called and I was very I was 19 when I graduated.
Right.
Actually 18, but 19 when I left to go to the States. And I felt called into the ministry and I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Why the States?
Well, I was, there was an institution there in Baton Rouge that I used to communicate with. And I felt that better suited what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of, I know as soon as I mention his name, you guys are going to go crazy.
Who, Joel Osteen?
No, Jimmy Swaggart.
I know Jimmy Swaggart.
Mm-hmm.
My mom still has his records.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to his school and I loved it. Isn't
it the one that ended up in some scandal?
Yeah.
Wait, what year was this?
1989. August of 1989.
That's when you went to the States?
Yeah.
Was it Bush? H?
It was Walker.
That was the president.
WH. Yeah. It was, I think it was Walker Bush. And then a few years after that was Clinton.
Fun fact, I was actually just thinking about this today. Do you know that this year is 31 years since Clinton became president?
Amazing.
31 years.
I remember when he was running.
Me too.
In fact, he came to Louisiana to campaign once.
I remember the Monica Lewinsky scandal.
I feel old all of a sudden. Eh?
That's what, 31 years, imagine
it's
that.
It's amazing. It's incredible.
I picked up something that you said. You felt called. Do you feel like you fell off somewhere along the line with this calling?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, I did. When I came back, and I've shared this before publicly, when I came back, my father, and guys, I'm being honest. Okay?
Honest is always good.
I'm being very honest with you, and I know what I'm going to say is people are just going to interpret that in their own way, but it's the truth. When I came back, my father sat me down and he said, I need to build you a church.
Wow.
And I said, where? He says, well, there's a place in McKinney that we just got a property there and you can do your church thing there. Let me tell you what derailed me. I was a young, single guy, and I said to myself, what if I start a church and then some scandal breaks out?
What was the first thing in your mind?
And let me tell you why that is, because I came from that background. I came from, you talked about my mentor, Jimmy Swaggart.
Yes.
Who was and he still is my mentor. Mm-hmm. And I love him dearly. And, because I was there when all that was happening.
The scandal.
Yeah. I was there in Baton Rouge, and to watch him go through that, it just did something to me.
What scandal was it? I don't know why we assume that everybody who's watching this
maybe also knows. Scandal. I can't talk about it.
I remember, I think it was infidelity, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he cheated?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So that's what you were scared of, Simon?
Well,
cheating?
The impact that had. You're too young to remember this, but that scandal broke out in 1988. Mm-hmm. Okay, 1980. That affected the whole of Christendom in the area of Pentecostalism.
True.
It shook the whole Pentecostal church, and I was there to see him go through that hell, and it was earth-shattering, And I remember as a young kid looking at that thinking, I don't ever want to go through that. Ever. And
when you chose the behavior, you chose the consequences, I guess.
There was a popular song in our house. Remember the song Sweet Anointing? Sweet
that's Jimmy's song. Yeah.
All of a sudden, that record stopped playing in the house after that.
Really?
Yeah.
Who used to play that song?
My mom. Yeah, she had all his albums and records.
Wow.
Yeah. Remember that song, Sweet Anointing?
Yes. Yeah. I have that album.
Yeah, I still have that album.
You're the first Zambian that's ever remembered that.
Serious?
Well, to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, it's just a hit album.
Is your mother still living?
Yeah, turned 70 a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turned 70.
Yeah.
So you don't open this church in McKinney. What happens with your life at that point?
Oh, I go into business and, I start doing my thing. And
what is that?
Well, I help the family business. I just got into the family business.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And until my dad passed away, and then we got more active roles, and here we are. So
before Simoson building, what was the family business?
This real estate. So we built McKinney. We turned that. It was supposed to be a hotel.
Right.
Yeah. It's called. We named it after my aunt, my late aunt. Her name was Winnie. We called it the McKinney Winnie Hotel. But then the bus drivers renamed it to McKinney Simoson. So if you go into City Market, you'll hear the guy screaming, McKinney Simoson, McKinney Simoson. They're talking about that hotel in
it's still operational.
Yeah, but then we rented it out as a university uses it now.
Oh.
Yeah, because we tried to run it as a hotel. It was very difficult. And, in those days, that property in McKinney, the road leading up to that was treacherous. This Los Angeles road, in those days, it was called Los Angeles Road. It's now called the Kalusha-Walia Road.
Right.
But in the 90s, the early 90s, my goodness, the road, and I remember asking my dad once, why would you want to build this thing here? Who's going to come here? And he looked at me and said, 30 years from now, there'll be a beautiful road here. It'll be easily accessed.
And
that's exactly that's exactly what's happening.
I don't know about the easily accessed part.
It is.
Beautiful? Yes.
Yeah. No.
It took me
from not here. I'm talking about McKinney.
All right.
Yeah, McKinney.
I thought you meant Los Angeles Road.
Yeah, well, if you're leaving Los Angeles Road, you're driving past the police station.
All right.
It's a straight shot. But in the 90s, impassable.
Yeah.
Not only impossible, but impassable.
Passable.
Yeah.
But he said to us, don't worry about that. Just build. And 30 years, there'll be a new road, and there'll be businesses everywhere, he said. Because in those days, it was just land.
Right.
And it was in the middle of nowhere. And he said, no, don't worry about that. 30 years from now, it'll be.
So when did the gentrification happen?
When did?
The gentrification.
Explain that. I know what that word is. I think.
Yeah.
It's about the value of property going up.
Not only that. So when your dad began building this building, when was this, you said?
This is Simoson here?
Yeah.
1986.
Right, and it was just land, like you said. And he did see that in 30 years, it would be a lot more than it was then. So the gentrification process is when other people begin seeing that vision, begin building and making it a lot more modern.
Absolutely.
So at what period do you think?
Yeah, it was 1987 is when we opened, August of 87, Simoson building here, 87. We went through maybe about 3 years, and then people started coming here. Because in those days, in 1987, when you said you're going to Simoson, you could be standing on Cairo Road, and if you said to someone, I'm going to Simoson, that was like saying you're going to the industrial area. People were like, wow. Simoson? You're going all the way there?
All the way, right.
Yeah, and yet it's just across the street. But in the 80s, this part of town, there was nothing here. And we went through a period, a good period of, business was okay, and then it started to slump because other businesses were opening. Right. But let me tell you what saved us. City Market. When they built City Market in 1994.
Brought traffic here.
That's when everything changed. Well, at that time, I don't know if you guys know about Munyaole Market. Munyaole Market is a market. No, it's just down the road here.
There's another Munyaole Market in Chala.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Munyaole Market just down the road on the Mumba Road here. It's just shacks.
Right.
Well, City Market used to be what Munyaole is today. City Market, it was just shacks everywhere. It was just open land. And when President Chiluba
right.
decided to build City Market, he did it with Zambia National Service in conjunction with an Israeli company. They came to clear the land. And I remember the controversy because the people who occupied that land, they said, no, no manga mwatu fumia panakuisa. And Chiluba tried to explain to the people, look, we're building you a modern market. Yo, we don't want that. This is Chiluba said, remove all of them. And they just came and they bulldozed everything. And then after a few years, this was 1994.
Right.
And they built this beautiful market. And then Chiluba turned around and said, you see what I built for you? And the people, the same people who were complaining said, oh,
I've always used this quote over and over again by Henry Ford, where he said, if I had asked people what I should build, they'll say, give us a faster horse.
Yeah.
So he didn't ask them, he just built a car.
No, he just, I know that story. Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh.
So that's what you meant.
Yeah.
We actually needed this and we didn't know this.
Oh, absolutely. So in 94, when they built the City Market now, that's when for us, Simoson, since 94, we've always had 100% occupancy since 1994. Wow. And the reason is because of our proximity.
Of course.
It's just City Market's right across the street. We've got bus stations there. We've got so many marketeers, and it's right across the street.
Right.
So we have a very symbiotic relationship. We feed off of them, they feed off of us.
And the other way around.
Yeah.
You have got only one photo of a president in your office.
One?
One president.
One president.
Michael Sata.
No, I have both. There's Hakainde Hichilema here.
Okay, who you should have as a business, yes, but any other president on the wall, there's only Michael Sata.
And let me explain why that is.
Yes.
My friend, Vatis. You know Vatis?
Of course.
Inzi. Yes.
Yeah, he's the one
Is it the same Vatis as the cubes?
Yes,
yeah.
Vatis took that picture.
Just pause right there. Yeah. Do you want to repeat what you said on the Antimili episode about Vatis?
Forget, man.
No, I'm not going to forget it.
He said something about Vatis.
Yes, he did.
What did you say?
Focused.
I am going to tell you, Simon.
Hey, this is Mr. Mwewa's episode, bro.
Yes, and I'm telling him because he's friends with Vatis.
Yeah.
I never wanted Antimili on the episode.
Millie
Beauty.
Yes,
really?
Yes, I didn't. He did, for whatever reason. I don't know if he's got a crush on her or whatnot.
Right.
So I set out on the episode.
And you're not even in the country anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't in the country. I deliberately left the country for that reason.
Oh, really?
So we had a follow-up episode where we discussed that episode with Antimili, right? So it kind of sounds like I'm digressing. Okay. I want to give context. So as we started going back and forth about the quality of the guests that we needed to have, I gave him a clear example because I speak to Vatis. And we wanted to have Vatis on the podcast. So I called Vatis and we spoke for a bit and he says, I know your podcast. Give me 5 minutes, I'll call you back. Guess what he was doing in those 5 minutes?
Due diligence.
Okay.
So he went through the guests that we've had. Yeah. And then he calls me back. He says, I'm not going to be on the podcast. I said, why? He says, because of, and he mentioned 3 guests. And he said, I'm building a brand. And if I'm going to be on your podcast, the same podcast that has had these people, and now suddenly my name is also going to be mentioned in the same sentence as these people. So for that reason, I'm not going to be on the podcast. And so I say to this man, the more we bring the likes of her, I'm about to finish my point.
Okay.
We are going to severely affect the quality of the guests that we have. And that was not the only person that said that. The president is considering coming onto the podcast. So we got a call about this. And they were doing the due diligence. And it's the same thing again that they do. So I say to him, there are people that I don't want to talk to. And what this guy then said, so what I then said is, I would much rather on any day have Vatis over Antimili because there's a lot more things that people can learn from somebody like Vatis as opposed to Antimili. He said, quote, Vatis can hang.
And this is why I said that. As with any product you're going to develop on this planet, there are those who will buy and those who will not. Vatis is filling the bracket of people who don't want to come on the podcast. We're going to have a lot of those. just last week, Truth Tea, what's her name again? Refused to come simply because of your language. So, look.
No, but that's...
Are you guys arguing? Is this an argument?
But that's different, and I'll tell you why.
No, my point is, others will buy into this idea, others will not. Some will, some won't, so on.
Yeah, but then again, when it comes to the quality... Simon, for the longest time, I wanted to have you on the podcast, right? So there are people that, by starting this...
What's her name again? Mainza, no, the name on Instagram. The urban evangelist, yeah.
Yeah, what about her?
Have you ever had her on?
Nah, she's not going to come.
Oh, she won't come?
Nah, she's not
going to come. No, that had nothing to do with me.
Okay.
What did you had nothing to do with me.
I know
you
the
think
urban
so?
evangelist.
I met her and we spoke about this.
You think so?
I know this.
Let's move on. You were talking about...
But anyway...
you're talking about the president's photo.
So the point, again, going back to Vatis, is I felt like there's a lot more value that somebody like that would be able to bring. And if you remember, I've always said if there's
But Vatis didn't come because of a guest that we both agreed to bring on.
You say what?
Vatis refused to come because of a guest that you and I both agreed to bring on.
The ones that he mentioned, the one that he mentioned, I told you who he mentioned.
Who, Mutale?
Yes.
Didn't we both agree to bring Mutale?
When we spoke to Vatis,
yes,
it was just you and Mutale. Not that was
the old one. That was like episode 3.
Yes. It was like, Mutale, I'm not gonna come onto your episode.
Wow.
Onto your podcast.
The president's photo in your office?
Yeah. Well, Vatis took that photograph.
Right.
Yeah. And we're talking about, there's a picture in our dining hall of late President Sata.
Right.
And during the PF, because, I had lots of PF friends that would come here, and the moment they would walk into the dining area and they would see that portrait, they'd say, oh, yeah. But they don't know. They didn't know that the only reason I had it there, of course, I knew Vasata personally. He was a very close colleague of my father's. They knew one another very well, yeah. And I knew him. But the main reason I have his photograph there is because my friend Vatis took that picture.
Right.
And it was to me, it was the very first Zambian presidential portrait that was done perfectly. And because of its aesthetics, because of the way it looks, I framed it nicely and I hung it on my wall because it's probably one of the best presidential portraits ever taken.
The others are boring, just a white background.
Yeah, just sort of like a non-event sort of background. But Vatis was very creative with that. And that's the reason I have it there.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
There was a rivalry between him and Oscar at some point.
Oscar?
Chavula.
Between Vatis and Oscar? Oh, I don't know about that.
I also don't know about that.
I do, and now you both do.
Okay. Well, Vatis is a very close friend of mine.
Consider yourself educated.
For free.
And I love him.
You're doing way better than the government. Moving on.
I don't know about that.
How did your dad afford all these estates on a civil servant's salary?
Sure, that's a very good question. My father, in the 80s, I don't know if you guys remember this, there was something called the Leadership Code. Have you ever heard of this, Nelson?
No.
Sounds like Illuminati.
She made a very good script for you.
Really?
So I want to pull that up.
Can I explain this?
Please.
Yeah. So in the 80s, this was during the UNIP government. People that worked in government had to adhere to what was called the Leadership Code. Do you know what that was?
Sounds like Illuminati to me.
The Leadership Code basically said, if you worked in government, you could not run private businesses. If you worked in government, you could not be an entrepreneur. You had to work in government as government. If you wanted
for the people.
It was
all about service.
Yes, it was all about service. But if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, you had to leave government. Now, my father decided that because he was a civil servant, any extra money he had, he decided to build little flats in Garden Compound we used to call them the Green Diamond Flats. There were like 5 or 6 of them, okay? And from there, he would save from there and also acquire more property. The more property he acquired, the more people talked. They'd say, "What? This is Simon Mwewa. He's an entrepreneur and he's in government and all that." And I remember one particular conversation I had with my father. This was in Kabalonga. We were living in a government house, And my dad said to me, he said, Sonny, he used to call me Sonny. He says, you see that spoon over there? There's a spoon on the table. I said, yes. He says, if for any reason Dr. Kenneth Kaunda dismisses me from my job, do you know that spoon there, we wouldn't even be able to carry that spoon out of here.
Wow.
He says, what I'm trying to teach you is it's better to own our own property, even if it's a 1-bedroom flat.
But it's yours.
It's ours. And because when he was saying this to me, we were living in this beautiful, big palatial house, a government house in Kabalonga. He says, you see this house? This house doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to your mother. So it's my job to make sure that when I'm gone, nobody comes here and says to you, get out of this house.
Right. And leave that spoon.
Yeah. That's basically what he said. He said, so it's my job to protect you, your brothers and sisters, and your mother. Because when my job, for some reason, if it ends, they're going to chase us out of this entire house, and we won't have anywhere to go. So I have to protect you. So he started building his own thing, and the government didn't like that at the time. So they asked him to leave. And when they did, by that time, he had a property on Nangwenya Road. You know where Nangwenya Road is? It's right
is that
along
LBC
of ISL.
Yeah.
The same road that ISL
I
is
normally
on.
go to Scallywags.
Yeah, sorry?
I normally go to Scallywags. Scallywags is on Nangwenya.
Same road.
Oh, right, yes. That restaurant.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. It's on that same road.
Yes.
I grew up on that road.
Word?
Yeah,
Nice.
we had my father had a property there. To answer your question, the way he built this was he sold all of his properties and then got a loan from the bank. The story of how he got this land, this was just land. There was no building here. He was driving down Lumumba Road. He'd come from the industrial area. He was looking for land to buy. And he saw a man by the name of Mr. Issa. Do you know the Issas? Ever heard of the Issas?
No.
They're a very famous Zambian property conglomerate family. Huge. I mean, these guys own lots of property in Zambia.
Right.
Yeah, they're real estate moguls. So Mr. Issa owned this plot. And my dad pulled over and he said, and they knew each other. He said, oh, Issa, I'm looking for land to buy. And Mr. Issa said, Simon, you're so lucky. Actually, I'm selling this particular land. So if you want to buy it, you can buy it. Immediately, my dad said, hop in the car, let's go to the bank. And there was a man, I don't know if you remember him, Mr. Nizam. He was
would you remember the value of the land?
No.
Okay.
But it was very cheap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was very, very
Wait,
cheap.
so did your dad have the money at this point?
No, he had to go to he had the money to buy the land, but not to build this building.
All right.
Yeah, so he bought the land, he went to the bank, and then he got a loan to build this building.
We sit here and we speak about the process. One of the 48 laws of power that I like is where they say, make your accomplishments seem so effortless. As a business owner, and as somebody that has had a couple of businesses, when you mention he went to the bank and he got a loan, you make it sound so easy.
Like he just walked in.
And he did. And in those days, it was. In those days, it was all about, hey, everybody was friends in those days.
Right.
All
trust.
All the business people were friends. They had a very good network.
Right.
They helped each other. The Indian community and the Zambian community, Black Zambian community, was very well gelled. Because, my father went to school. He went to university in India, in Delhi. He got a degree in economics in Delhi. So my father's thinking was very Asian, and all of his friends were Indians.
And once you get into that community,
you think like them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they look out for
each other. Yeah. So, the network was great. And getting a loan in those days was so easy.
Right.
Yeah. And so it took him
They
about...
wouldn't ask you for blood samples and...
No.
Like they do now.
It took him I think it was about 10 years to pay off the loan. Yeah. And then one of the things he said to us, and he would always say this to us, he would always say, never sell this building, never sell property, never. Yeah. And never use your property as collateral. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I had one of the most uncomfortable conversations with my parents, similar to what you had with your dad, where when I went to SA to visit them, he said, hop in the car, we're going to go to the lawyers. So we get there and they were setting up their trust. I've got 2 younger sisters. The glaring difference, I sort of understand why they did this, is so the properties that my parents have will benefit myself and my 2 sisters. But that's where it stops as far as my sisters are concerned. Their kids cannot benefit from the property. My son and any other male offspring will benefit from the properties. Because now both my sisters are married. Their kids are obviously going to take their father's last name. And so before you know it, it sort of then dilutes the whole thing. But because I carry my last name, and so will my son, and so will my son's son, the properties will be passed down to all the male.
It'll follow the name.
It'll follow
pretty
the
much
name,
that lineage,
basically.
Yeah.
And obviously, and that's one of the things that I began to learn more about the glaring difference between a trust and a will. Is you're able to stipulate rules that you cannot sell it. Only rentals, for example, can benefit the following people.
Yeah. Selling is never an option.
It's never an option. No. So when you just thought about that, I thought about the conversation that I had with him.
Yeah.
Interesting, man.
And that's a good way to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we need to have an episode, Kalenga, where we have a lawyer, because I learned a lot.
I keep saying we bring Ken on this now,
about the difference between a will and
a trust.
And a trust, because I don't know about the current law in Zambia, but if your dad had a will, I'm not quite sure what your dad had, and he passes. Firstly, there's what they call an estate tax. A dead person pays tax.
Yeah.
The total value of the person's estate. If your dad owed me money, I'm going to go and claim it right there. If he owed any institutions or any banks, they're going to claim it right there. So before everything is split between the people that are named in the will, whoever he owed money to can come after him.
First.
Right. But then a trust, if your dad had this building and he puts this building in a trust, it stops being his because it's not in his name anymore. It belongs to the trust. So even the taxes that the deceased is supposed to pay, they can only pay what is in their name. And the building is not in their name.
And
so
that is how the rich stay rich.
There you go. So I think we need to have Ken on this episode.
And I'll tell you, one of the things that we are very uncomfortable talking about as a people is generational wealth.
Yeah.
Inheritance. Somehow the word inheritance has become a curse word in Zambia. It's synonymous with someone that's lazy and somebody that's been handed everything. But people don't understand how important it is, to properly pass down wealth. The Asian community do it very well. And they look at us and they think these guys.
No, say what you're saying.
These are jokers.
These niggas.
I know, right?
Oh man, they look at us and they think these jokers,
Right.
because everybody's entangled in vamos pianica, and they laugh at that because it's
the way it's supposed to be.
Nobody lives forever.
Tan 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 tan. Dun 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 dun